Your tabletop village is dead, and adding more buildings, minis, or decorations won't fix it. More stuff gives your players more to look at, but it doesn't give them more to do. Today, I'm building 3 simple set pieces, each creating a different kind of player agency. Some to interact with, somewhere to explore, and a situation that they can choose to change. Layer all 3 together, and this empty square becomes a town where stories can actually happen. The first opportunity I want to add is interaction, and one of the simplest ways to create that is with a market stall. I'm building this almost entirely from balsa wood because it is lightweight, inexpensive, and easy to cut as I work. I begin with the main body of the stall and then add the counter, the upright supports, and the frame that will hold the canopy. I'm not working from a detailed blueprint or cutting every piece ahead of time. I cut one piece, hold it against the build, and then decide what the next piece needs to be. That's probably one of the flaws in the way I build. It's not the fastest route to perfectly square corners, matching measurements, or a model that could be reproduced exactly, but I'm usually less concerned with making a perfect display piece than I am with making something that works at the table. These 3 builds are meant to prove that useful terrain does not have to become a week-long project. The market, signpost, and stage can all be built and painted in a single day. If one post leans slightly or the counter is not perfectly level, it will still do its job as long as the players understand what it is and can recognize that they can use it. If the structure comes together, I want the front to remain open and readable. There is room for a merchant behind the counter, room for goods to be displayed, and enough space around it for player miniatures to approach. Those choices are simple, but they turn the stall from background decoration into an invitation. A player can buy something, barter over the price, ask the merchant for information, inspect an unusual item, or decide that something on the counter looks suspiciously stolen. The merchant might know who passed through town, what supplies are running low, or why nobody is willing to sell anything after sunset. One small stall can create conversations, reveal information, introduce a quest, or simply allow a player to make a meaningful choice about how they spend their resources. The merchandise can also change without rebuilding the stall. Today it might sell vegetables and bread, in another town it could hold potions, weapons, or forbidden relics. That makes it reusable while still giving each settlement its own character through the merchant, the goods, and the situation surrounding them. But the most important part is that none of this is fixed in advance. The stall does not dictate what the players must do, it simply offers possibilities. The same setup can become a peaceful trade, a tense negotiation, a moment of roleplay, or even a conflict depending entirely on what the players choose to do when they step up to it. If they decide to ignore the merchant, that is a valid outcome, and if they decide to haggle aggressively, that changes the tone of the scene. Once the basic structure is finished, paint on a few small details enough to communicate its purpose. It doesn't need to be flawless, it just needs to be clear, accessible, and useful. In a way that makes the world feel immediate and responsive at the table. Even in the smallest moments, because the stall does not bring this town to life simply by occupying empty space, it brings the town to life by giving the player someone to approach and several reasons to start a conversation. Now the town offers someone to interact with, but it still needs to give the player somewhere to go. Now, the second opportunity that I want to create is exploration. The market gives the player someone to approach, but this next piece gives them a reason to look beyond the town itself. For that, I'm building one of the smallest pieces in this project, a simple wooden signpost. And for that, I'm going to start with a wooden dowel for the main post, and I'll use a popsicle stick cut up for the signs later on. But just like the market stall, I'll be cutting each piece as I need it instead of following a prepared set of measurements. That freedom is especially useful here because the signpost probably should not look perfectly manufactured. The boards can be different lengths, mounted at slightly different heights, and turned away from one another. Those inconsistencies make it feel like something that has been repaired, replaced, and redirected as the roads around it changed. Now, I still want the finished piece to be readable from across the table. Perfect scale matters less to me than clear communication. If the signs are technically realistic but too small for the players to notice, then they're not really doing anything for the game. Personally, I would rather exaggerate their size slightly and make every direction obvious. I think there's a point in miniature building where scale stops being about measurement and starts being about perception. A piece can be perfectly accurate and still fail if the eye cannot read it in a second. On a tabletop, clarity is a form of storytelling. Every object is competing for attention. So are designed for instant understanding rather than strict realism. If a player has to lean in to decode it, the moment is already lost. Now, if you want to try this yourself, I've linked all the supplies I use down below so you can grab them easily and follow along without having to hunt everything down. And while you're thinking about building your own setup, I'd love to know what kind of terrain you would like to build first for your own game. A town, a dungeon, a stretch of wilderness, or something else entirely. A tabletop town can only physically show so much. The buildings, streets, and miniatures represent what is immediately around the players. But a sign pointing toward another settlement tells them that the road continues beyond the edges of the board. Suddenly, this town is no longer an isolated collection of terrain. It becomes one location inside a much larger world. More importantly, the sign presents information without forcing the players to stop and listen to an explanation. I don't have to tell them that cirque lies in one direction and dendro lies in another. The environment communicates that naturally. If one of those names catches their attention, they can ask about it. If neither interests them, they can continue with whatever it was they were doing. And that distinction matters because exploration works best when it begins with curiosity rather than instruction. There is a difference between telling the party you need to travel to Dender and allowing them to notice that a road leads there. One gives them an assignment, and the other gives them a question. What is Dender? Why does the road lead there? Why does one sign look newer than the other? Is it closer, safer, richer, more dangerous? Not every question needs an answer prepared in advance. Sometimes a name is simply a seed that can grow later. The players might ignore it today and remember it 5 sessions from now when an NPC mentions the same place. That moment of recognition helps the world feel connected, even if the sign itself only took a few minutes to build. Now, the market made the town feel inhabited by giving the players someone to interact with. The sign makes the world feel larger by giving them somewhere to explore. But those are still opportunities the players must choose to seek out. For the final build, I want to add something different, a situation already unfolding in the town that gives the players the chance to step in and change what happens. And for that, the third and final opportunity I want to create is intervention. The market waits for players to begin a conversation, and the sign waits for them to choose a new direction. This piece is different because it represents something already happening, whether the players become involved or not. I'm building a simple raised stage from balsa wood. Now, the stage is one of the most versatile pieces of terrain you can build. By simply swapping out the miniatures and props, it can represent anything from a town's crier's announcement of a royal decree to a tense courtroom trial, a bustling auction, or a celebratory festival. The same raised platform can just as easily become a place of performance, persuasion, or punishment. What changes is not the structure itself, but the story being told upon it and its decisions the players are invited to make in response. To me, effective storytelling is not about just leading the players through a sequence of events that I have already written. My job is to create a situation with enough tension and possibility that they want to make a decision. After that, the story belongs to everyone at the table. A choice only matters when its outcomes can generally be different and I am willing to accept whichever direction the players take. 2 doors that secretly lead into the same room are not meaningful agency. Neither is offering one correct answer and punishing them for choosing anything else. Players need room to succeed, fail, and surprise me, change the situation, or decide it is not their problem at all. And that's what the stage offers. It doesn't tell them how the scene ends. It places a conflict in front of them, with consequences already in motion. I establish what is happening, and the players decide what it becomes. The most memorable stories are rarely the ones I could have written alone. They emerge when the world presents a problem, and the players answer it in a way nobody expected. Now, none of these 3 builds are especially complicated, but together they demonstrate something important. A town does not feel alive because of how much terrain you place on the table. It feels alive because of what the terrain allows the players to do.